Romero, Santa Fe, and we're back at the Roundhouse with Representative Andrea Romero. Andrea, thank you for coming over here. You worked with us last year and you did a great job. We had some nice comments about you.
Oh,
How'd you do in basketball?
Could have done better, not gonna lie. I got out of committee late, and so I didn't get to contribute until the second half. But it was super fun. It was super fun, but it's never that fun to lose. I am better at strutting when it's good. No, I'm kidding.
You're better at winning. Well, yeah. Everybody is better at winning. Yeah.
No, it was super fun, and it was but we didn't get the calls that we needed, and it's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you took on a big project this year. This gun regulations. I want to say sensible gun regulations.
Thank you.
That is such a, I know they had people standing out over here.
Yeah.
Did you get any hassle on that, or was there a lot of respect, or? I know it can get rough.
I think it's a both and. This year feels different than so many others in that the supporters of these bills feel probably safer in a lot of ways, but certainly more vocal and supportive of coming out to say we're in favor of this. In the past, when we first were still allowing guns in the legislature, we didn't have a security system. We would see these lines around the building, and folks felt really threatened. I know in my first year as a legislator, it felt like, are we going to be okay?
Oh, yeah.
Just doing background checks and ERPO, being able to do emergency protective orders. Those are some of the basic sort of tenets of gun safety, and we're building on those. But for me, after Uvalde, and this resonates with a lot of people, it just was like, we have to do everything we possibly can to prevent these types of tragedies from happening. And I actually had looked at about 12 different pieces of legislation then about what we could do, and narrowed it down to, looking at assault weapons and high capacity magazines and waiting periods, and closing this loophole on folks that didn't have a verified background check. And so just two pieces of the potential, world of possibilities to look at gun safety. And I don't know if we'll stop here, but nevertheless hope that we could continue to build upon things that are working nationally.
Well, you mentioned Uvalde. That broke my heart, literally. And, for a long time they say, well, one good man with a gun can take down a bad man with a gun. This was one bad man with 300 lawmen that took 77 minutes to get in to take that fellow down because they were not trained properly, a lot of it. I don't point the finger at them. I'd be scared to death if I had to do something like that.
That's right.
But I'm not trained for it. They were trained for it.
Yeah,
that has changed a lot of people's minds. I mean, this young man probably had mental problems. You have to have a mental problem to do that. There needs to be some type of service out there that we can get it before it starts.
Yep. And that's what we're looking at.
And you're looking at a waiting period. You had 14 days and they narrowed it down to 7. Duh.
We're just trying to create that critical buffer. And when you look at Uvalde and a number of mass shootings, in fact, some of the top 10 worst in the country, many of those folks purchased those guns within a 24-hour to 10-day period, and committed these mass shootings with those weapons without that critical waiting period. And going back to Uvalde, seeing all of the results, I think part of it is that even if you had training, and even if you're standing outside of a door where somebody has an assault weapon, they didn't want to, they knew that as soon as they were going to approach that door, that it was deadly for themselves.
Absolutely.
And, how do you create a leadership mechanism that says, go in there, we know you're going to die, but maybe, it was an absolute disaster and a complete tragedy. And to even think that these types of weapons are available to do this type of damage is absurd. It's an absurdity. It's a dystopian reality, I think, that we're all living through.
I'm not against, I mean, guns. Everybody has a right to have a gun for protection, for hunting. Up north,
Yeah,
everybody's got a
that's right.
gun up
That's
north.
right.
They hunt, you know, things like this. But this domestic violence is out of control right now, and it's against women and it's against children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've kept up with it.
I mean, to both know that we're, in the last decade, we've risen in gun violence by 80%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's correlated to also laws going away, support systems going away, looking at all of these things that we're talking about with mental health, with behavioral health, these systems that were helping people get through rough times had gone away in that last decade as well. And we're in the midst of rebuilding these things, re-empowering people, re-empowering the government to do the right thing. You know, and that transition is tough. It's so hard to just wait for the greatness to come as we continue to build these systems back. And that's the hard part. I'm impatient.
Well, you mentioned the guns in the Capitol. I was over here when they.
Oh, yeah.
I walked in here, and all these dudes with guns. I thought, holy God! And I went over. Sarah Grace was working at the time. I said, Sarah, what is happening here? And she said, it's the gun issue. I said, well, my God, why would they have a hot issue like that with people with guns?
Yeah. And then we had to, you know, take a few steps back and get security in the building, prohibit folks from bringing, you know, weapons into the legislature, have a security system in place. I mean, the fact that we had to do all of that also just shows you so much about where we still are.
So are you getting some pretty good luck with your bill? I mean, are you getting people to listen to you? Are they even the people that might be against what you're doing?
I think so. I mean, a lot of minds have continued to change as these tragedies continue. I mean, we're looking at the fact that we just had one of the worst mass shootings in New Mexico just last year with these type of weapons that we're trying to prohibit from continuing to exist in our society. I think that really, when it's close to home and you're closer to that tragedy, it makes more sense. The hard part is okay, now we're a little bit further removed, now we're gonna think about these philosophical, it gets really difficult to help people understand. Remember when these things were happening, you know, having to recollect what we're actually trying to accomplish, what the words in the, you know, black and white say, and how we're getting there. I think, you know, when we're able to help folks reorient around why we were doing this to begin with, I think it really resonates. It's still a challenge, no question, and every vote counts. But I think the conversation has shifted, and folks are tired of seeing these tragedies happen. And if there's something that we can do to prevent it, I mean, we know that by every method that's been approached and being able to reduce gun violence, 1/3 of the U.S. population has an assault weapons ban. Those numbers go down. The numbers with more gun safety that's available to a society, the less violence is happening with gun violence. Yeah.
Okay, another issue in this very thing is parents being held responsible. Now, I watched the trial that's on TV now with a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to her very carefully. She's a mother. And, you know, nobody wants their child to be that way. You don't want to say, that's my child that is doing this. And I understand that it's got to hurt.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the line, parents have to step in. Teachers, doctors. I think that's one of the things of getting people to be more aware of your children, what they're doing, what they're up to.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a shooting at Santa Fe High when I was in high school 100 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, we had one shooting. And I remember most of the teachers that were in there were World War II veterans. A lot of them were. We had a place called Seth Hall, and I was coming in at that time. I heard the shot.
Wow.
And I didn't,
Wow.
of course, you know, when you're 16, you don't know what the heck's going on. And I remember Mr. Walsh, who was the the head guy over there. He came down that hall like a bat out of hell, and
Wow.
he told me, "Get out now."
Wow.
And I got out quick. But it seemed like even the teachers that day came together.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the young man took a shot at Porky Leba, who was one of the teachers.
Oh, gosh.
And Porky just happened to put his head down. He was sitting at his desk, and when the gun went off, it grazed his head.
Wow.
But he was trying to work with this kid. We don't know what happened to that boy. He was sick. Something happened. I didn't know him.
Right.
Where were his parents? You know, it's a bad.
No, it's tragic, and it's all systemic. You know, we understand more and more about trauma today and trauma-informed care. We understand so much more about early childhood and what carries through. You know, and as we look at how do we get to a place where you would commit violence upon yourself or another person, you know, all of those, like you said, what happened to you, all of those things matter going backward. And I feel like this legislature is trying to figure out that all of those really complicated pieces fitting together. Not just one-off, you know, sort of wins, like we said, there are certain pieces of legislation, but we are looking at this holistically. I know I am, to really try to get through to the crux of these issues and prevent them before they ever become these tragedies.
That's right. I want to talk to you a little bit about the electorate
Okay.
vote, the fake electorates that they had. There were several people that I understand did come to the Capitol. There's the gentleman that is currently under investigation lives here in Santa Fe. How did you handle that?
Well, it's very challenging to know that Mr. Eastman lives in
I know.
my district,
Yes,
actually.
he does, right there.
And to know that we are, you know, I mean, there's always these challenges for, you know, in academia, hiding folks in, you know, far off parts of the world, that we would be considered one of those places to have this, you know, refuge for folks who are trying to do damage to our democracy and lying, you know, just outright lies told when it comes to how to, you know, basically disrupt and dismantle free and fair elections. It's a really hard pill to swallow. And I hope that, you know, the folks that have tried to do that will be brought to justice. You know, I feel like some people were probably manipulated and abused and used for their power or wherever they were to you know, go through some of these motions. Absolutely. I mean, I've been trying to follow a lot of it. But the folks at the, you know, tip of the spear who knew better. And I really felt like everything I've understood about the case against Mr. Eastman, he knew better. He definitely did.
They
and
all
chose,
knew better.
Yeah. And he chose, you know, the pathway to dismantling our democracy, knowing that the free and fair election was real and still, you know, released chaos unto our electorate. And yeah, it's really challenging to just also know how slow our systems of justice are working. Again, impatience, but nevertheless, I believe in the rule of law, and I really hope that as we continue to see these cases move forward, that, you know, we'll all see justice being done.
Okay. Can you encourage people to vote in this next election? How important is that? Do we want a democracy or do we want an autocracy?
That's the message. I mean, it's as simple, which is not simple. It's as simple as democracy right now. But whether or not that's, you know, giving folks the empowerment to really cast a vote, because I feel like it's not so much, you know, which way is the vote going to go, but the folks who sit out. And I think we saw a bit of that in 2016. But I think it's the folks that are like, you know, to heck with it. This is crazy.
That's right.
And those are the people we need to pull into whatever it is that you're feeling, cast a vote. We need you to be part of this. And of course, you know, as a Democrat, I feel very strongly that we, you know, should vote Democrat. But, you know, nevertheless, right now, it's the democracy that's at stake.
I agree. Anything else you have to say?
Just that I always enjoy our time together, Carly, and I love it
Okay.
when you get here. I didn't know you went to Santa Fe High, did I?
No.
That's my alma mater as well.
Sweetie, I'm a bit older than you are.
Just a little bit, maybe. I don't know, I can't tell, so.
Quite a bit. Quite a bit, but I'd have taken you on a basketball at one time.
That's awesome. Well, we need to get you suited up and playing with us.
Oh, no, I can't move fast enough anymore. But
we'll go play horse or something. How about that? Okay.
Thank you so much,
Always
Andrea
a pleasure.
Romero.
Yes, thank you.